study, we will see how to deal with the sentences or with the conditional sentences that start with if, and we call them the if sentences. As most of you, the third or the second year baccalaureate students, have difficulties to differentiate between the first conditional, the second conditional, and the third. So here we will discuss and we will see how to learn and how to deal with these sentences. So let's go and see, of course, how many types of conditionals do we exactly have. So as you can see here, there are four main types of if sentences in English, often called conditional sentences. These sentences are in two halves. We call them clauses. The if part, we call it if clause. The other part, where you can use words such as can, will, may, might, could, and would, we call them the main clause. So of course the first one, as you can see, or most teachers don't of course teach this type, but it's an occasion here, it's an opportunity for you to know the first or the zero conditional, which is the type 0, as you can see here. So is a structure used for talking about general thoughts, things which always happen under certain conditions. Note that most zero conditional sentences will mean the same thing if when is used instead of if. The zero conditional is used to talk about things which are always true, scientific facts, general truths, and so on. Of course, we have many examples. So here we are going to see the structure. Here, as you can see, zero conditional, the structure. So as you can see, we have the if clause and the main clause. So the if clause contains an if plus the simple present or the present simple tense in the zero conditional. The second part, which is the main clause, of course, we have the same thing, with the same tense, we have the present simple. We have an example here, as you can see in this one. If you heat the water to 100 degrees, it boils. So as you can see here, this is a fact. We cannot ignore, or we cannot say it's not impossible. So here, so the heat of the water happens at 100 degrees. Okay, so this is of course, as we said, it boiled, and it is a fact. Okay, so it cannot. So the water here, it means that it cannot boil in 80 degrees or 70 degrees or less, but in 100 degrees exactly it boils. So this is a fact. We use the present simple here, and the main clause we use the present simple too. Let's go to see the next one. So first, conditional, as you can see here, as we know it of course as conditional type 1. So is a structure used for talking about possibilities in the present or in the future. As you can see here, so we use this conditional to talk about possibilities, just possibilities, please. So the first conditional is used to talk about things which are possible, which may happen of course, possible in the present or in the future. Things which may happen. Perhaps they may happen in the future or in the present, or they may not happen. Okay, so let's go and see the structure of the conditional type 1. So as you can see here, we have a structure. So we have the if clause and the main clause that are basic here. So we have if plus the present simple, and then in the main clause we have the future simple, which may include can, may, or will. So we use the future simple. As an example, if you study hard, you will pass the test. So of course here, it's as you can see, it's a condition. If you study hard, if you are a hard worker, you may pass the test, or you will pass the test. But if you don't study hard, of course, this is a fact that which means that you are not going to pass the test. Okay, so here we have this small example, and you can do more examples. Let's see the second conditional, which we know it as, of course, as the conditional type 2. So here, as a structure, is a structure used for talking about unreal situations. Okay, it is about unreal, which means we talk about something which is not real in the present or in the future. So here, the second conditional is used to talk about, of course, things which are unreal, not true, or not possible. So it is impossible to happen. Okay? So in the present, of course, or in the future. Things which don't or won't happen. In this case here, so we don't just come and use the conditional type 2 just because we like to, but in these situations, if we have an unreal situation, we use the second conditional, as you can see here. Or, of course, if we have something which is not true or not possible to be happened. Good. So let's go and see the next thing here, which is the structure. The if clause and the main clause, of course. We have if plus past simple. Okay. It is obligatory to use this structure in the sentence. And the second, in the main clause, we have would, or could, or might. Which means that would and could and might plus a verb. Of course, this verb should be in the infinitive. Okay. We call it, of course, the bare infinitive, which means that could and would and might always followed by a verb without to, which means bare infinitive. So here we have if clause. If I had $1 million, I would buy a big house. In reality, it means that I don't have $1 million, so I wouldn't buy a big house because I have no money. Okay, so this is the real situation. But here we imagine an unreal situation, a situation which doesn't exist, okay, and which will never happen because I know myself I have no money, so I cannot buy this house. So in this case here, we just imagine possibilities as we just said in the definition backwards. So let's go and see the next one. So here the last one, which is concerned. So for the second baccalaureate students, you are concerned with this type. So it is conditional type 3. Is a structure used for talking about unreal situations in the past. Remember, so number 2, or the type 2, is about unreal situation in the present or in the future. But this one here is about an unreal situation too, but in the past. Okay? Let's continue. The third conditional is used to talk about things which didn't happen in the past. Okay? Unreal, which didn't happen where? In the past, of course. If your native language does not have a similar construction, you may find this a little strange, but it can be very useful. It is often used to express criticism or regret. So here in this case, here we use this type 3, or the conditional type 3, to express criticism or regret. So to criticize or to regret something that we have done before. Good, so let's go and see the structure, of course. As you can see here, the structure, we have if plus past perfect. And the main clause, we have would or could, might have, plus the past participle of the verb, or the main verb. As an example, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. As you can see here, the if clause, of course, contains the past perfect, had plus past participle of the verb, which means the past perfect. If I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. So this, of course, sentence shows us that I hadn't, of course, studied harder. So I didn't pass the exam. Okay, so the real fact is that I didn't pass the exam. So if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. So the real situation is that I didn't, of course, pass the exam because I hadn't studied harder. So we will see a note here, as you can see down here. We have a note. If the if clause comes first, a comma is usually used. So as you can see here, if this sentence starts with if. So if we have a sentence which starts with if, so we are obliged to use a comma between the if clause and the main clause. Okay? And then we have, if the if clause comes second, there is no need to use a comma. Or that there is no need for a comma. As an example, here we have some examples. Water boils if you heat it to 100 degrees. So as you can see here, we didn't use the comma because we invert the main clause and the if clause. So if the sentence, of course, starts with if, it's very easy. If we start the sentence with an if, so we are obliged, it is obligatory to use a comma. But if we invert it, okay, if we start with the main clause and then the if clause, so there is no need to use the comma to separate between the if clause and the main clause. The second one, you will pass the test if you study harder. Sorry. I would buy a big house if I had $1 million. I would have passed the exam if I had studied harder. So as you can see in this video here, I have explained these types of conditional. They are very simple and it is very useful for you. Okay, if you like it, you just say you like it. If you don't like it, you can express yourself. So down here we are going to see some exercises. I'm just going to show them, and then you can deal with the exercises later. So here, this is the first exercise. So make 0 conditional sentences. Use cues. So here you can stop the video and you can do the exercise yourself. The second one, make first conditional sentences. Put the verbs in the brackets in the correct form. So it's easy, as you can see. You just, if you didn't understand, you go back to the explanation and you might find it. You might find the answer. And the next one, write second conditional sentences. Put the verbs in the brackets in the incorrect form. So here, as you can see, we have a very short exercise about the conditional type 2. And then we have an exercise about conditional type 3. Write third conditional sentences. Put the verbs in bracket in correct order. So you can check it by yourself and you can do it after you revise everything back there. And the last one, as you can see here, it is an exercise which is a mixed exercise. You can find here this type 0, type 1, type 3, or type 2. They are mixed here. So thank you for your watching here and see you in another video. Thank you.